If you grew up in the late 90s or early 2000s, you probably remember the Powerpuff Girls, three superpowered sisters created in a lab by Professor Utonium, saving Townsville from monsters and madmen. The show was bright, fast, and funny, with just enough weirdness to keep you guessing. But there's a story that's been circulating in the darker corners of the internet. A story about a lost episode, known only as Project Blossom. It's a story that fans whisper about, a secret that was never meant to see the light of day. I first heard about it from a friend who was obsessed with lost media. He claimed that Project Blossom was an unaired pilot, created before the show ever hit Cartoon Network. According to the legend, it was meant to be a proof of concept for the series, but it was so unsettling that it was locked away and never shown to the public. Some say only a handful of animators ever saw the full episode, and that anyone who did refused to talk about it afterward. The story goes that the episode starts like any other, Professor Utonium in his lab, mixing Chemical X, the familiar narration setting the scene. But instead of the usual explosion and the birth of three girls, something goes wrong. The lab is plunged into darkness, and the screen flickers with static. When the lights come back on, only one girl stands in the center of the room. Blossom. Her eyes are wide, her hair disheveled, and she's surrounded by broken glass and spilled chemicals. The professor tries to comfort her, but Blossom doesn't speak. She just stares at him, her expression blank. The narration is gone, replaced by a low, droning hum that grows louder as the episode goes on. The professor runs tests, desperate to figure out what went wrong, but every experiment ends in failure. Blossom's powers are unstable. Sometimes she can fly, sometimes she can't. Sometimes her eyes glow red, and objects in the lab shatter without warning. As the episode progresses, the colors become more washed out, the animation more jittery. The professor grows more frantic, his notes filling with scribbled warnings. Unstable, dangerous, not ready. Blossom begins to wander the house at night, her footsteps echoing through the empty halls. The professor locks himself in his study, but Blossom always finds a way in. She stands at the foot of his bed, watching him sleep, her eyes glowing in the darkness. The episode builds to a climax when the professor tries to create Bubbles and Buttercup, hoping to balance Blossom's powers. But every attempt fails. The chemicals explode, the screen fills with static, and Blossom screams, a sound so loud and distorted that it rattles the speakers. The last shot is of Blossom standing alone in the ruined lab, her face twisted in a silent, furious rage. After that, the screen supposedly cuts to black, but some viewers claim the episode doesn't end there. They say if you keep watching, you'll see a series of quick, jarring flashes, images of the professor's notes, pages torn and stained, filled with frantic handwriting. Words like containment, failure, and memory wipe appear over and over. There's a glimpse of Blossom standing in front of a cracked mirror, her reflection warped and shifting, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. In one frame, you can just make out the outline of two other girls, Bubbles and Buttercup, standing in the shadows behind her, their faces blurred and indistinct. The legend goes that the episode was only shown once, at a private Cartoon Network screening for executives. The reaction was immediate and intense. Some people walked out, others demanded the tape be destroyed. The creator, Craig McCracken, supposedly refused to talk about it. and the animators who worked on the pilot were sworn to secrecy. The official story is that the episode was just a rough draft, never meant for public viewing, but those who claim to have seen it insist there was something deeply wrong about it, something that went beyond bad animation or a failed script. I tried to find proof of Project Blossom, a clip, a screenshot, anything. But every time I got close, the trail went cold. Lost media forums are filled with people searching for the episode, trading stories and theories, but no one has ever produced a full recording. Some claim to have found old VHS tapes at estate sales or in the back rooms of animation studios, but the footage is always corrupted, the audio warped and filled with static. Others say the episode is cursed, that anyone who watches it is plagued by nightmares of Blossom's glowing eyes and the professor's desperate warnings. I started to wonder if the story was just an elaborate hoax, a creepypasta that got out of hand. But the more I read, the more I started to believe there was something real at the heart of it. Too many people described the same details, the same feeling of dread, the same haunting image of Blossom standing alone in the ruined lab, her face twisted in anger and pain. Some fans believe Project Blossom was an experiment gone wrong, a test to see how far the show could push the boundaries of children's animation. Others think it was a metaphor for the dangers of unchecked ambition, a warning about what happens when you try to play God. But no one can explain the details that keep cropping up. The static, the flashes of the professor's notes, the sense that something is watching from the shadows. Now, whenever I see Blossom on TV, I feel a little uneasy. I remember the stories, the images, the warnings, and I wonder if the episode is still out there, waiting for someone new to find it. I started to notice that I wasn't the only one haunted by the legend. Online, more and more people began sharing their own stories. Some had never even seen the episode, but just reading about it was enough to give them nightmares. They described hearing Blossom scream in their dreams, or seeing flashes of her glowing eyes in the dark corners of their rooms. A few even claimed that after learning about Project Blossom, they'd find strange notes scribbled in their notebooks or on scraps of paper, words like unstable, containment, and remember. The legend grew. Some said the episode was created as a warning, a message from the animators about the dangers of pushing too far, too fast. Others believed it was an accident, a project that spiraled out of control and was buried to protect the show's reputation. But the most unsettling theory was that the episode was never meant to be seen by anyone outside the studio, that it was a kind of test, or maybe even a ritual, and that anyone who watched it became part of the story. I tried to ignore the rumors, but the dreams kept coming. Sometimes I'd wake up with the feeling that someone was standing at the foot of my bed, watching me with wide, unblinking eyes. I'd check my phone in the middle of the night and find messages I didn't remember sending, just strings of random letters, or the word Blossom repeated over and over. I started leaving the lights on when I slept, just to keep the darkness at bay. One night I got an email from an address I didn't recognize. There was no message, just a video file attached. I hesitated, my finger hovering over the play button, but curiosity got the better of me. The video was short, just a few seconds of static, then a flash of Blossom standing in the ruined lab, her eyes glowing, her face twisted in rage. The screen went black, and for a moment I thought I saw my own reflection staring back at me, eyes wide with fear. After that, I deleted everything: emails, screenshots, forum accounts. I stopped talking about Project Blossom, stopped searching for answers. But the story never really left me. Sometimes I'll hear the sound of glass breaking in the middle of the night, or catch a glimpse of something moving in the corner of my eye. And every time, I wonder if the episode is still out there, waiting for someone else to stumble across it, someone else to get trapped in its endless echoing nightmare. I wish I could say the nightmares faded, that the story of Project Blossom eventually became just another creepy internet rumor. But the truth is, it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind. Sometimes, when I'm alone in a quiet room, I'll hear the faint hum of static or the echo of Blossom's scream. I'll turn on the TV late at night and find the screen flickering, and for a split second, I'll see the ruined lab, Blossom's eyes burning through the darkness. I've learned to live with it, in a way. I don't talk about the episode anymore, and I avoid anything to do with lost media, but every so often someone will bring it up, a friend, a stranger online, even a random post on social media. The details are always the same: the lost episode, the static, the flashes of the professor's notes, the sense that something is watching from the shadows. And every time, I feel that old fear creeping back in, cold and sharp as the sound of breaking glass. Some people say the episode is still out there, hidden on an old VHS tape in someone's attic, or buried deep in the archives of a forgotten server. Others believe it's just a story, a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition and the power of secrets. But those of us who've seen the images, who've heard the scream in the dark, know better. We know that some stories have a way of sticking with you, of changing the way you see the world. Now, whenever I see Blossom on TV, I hesitate before watching. I remember the ruined lab, the professor's desperate warnings, the way Blossom stood alone in the darkness, her eyes glowing with something that wasn't quite human. I wonder if the episode is still waiting for someone new to find it, someone new to carry the story forward. And I wonder if, somewhere out there, Blossom is still standing in that lab, surrounded by broken glass and spilled chemicals, her scream echoing through the static. So if you ever hear about Project Blossom, or find yourself tempted to search for lost episodes late at night, remember my story. Some things are better left lost. Some episodes are better left unwatched. And some secrets, no matter how curious you are better left alone. Because once you've heard the scream, once you've seen those eyes in the dark, you'll never look at the Powerpuff Girls or Blossom the same way again. I still get messages from people who stumble across the legend for the first time. They always start the same way: curiosity, a little skepticism, maybe even a joke about how a cartoon could be so unsettling. But after a while, the tone changes. They ask if I've ever really seen the episode, if the dreams ever stop, if the feeling of being watched ever goes away. I never know what to tell them. I want to say it's all just a story, that it can't hurt you if you don't believe in it. But I know better. Sometimes I wonder if the episode is more than just a lost piece of animation. Maybe it's a kind of test, a way to see who's willing to look too closely, to dig too deep. Maybe it's a warning, a reminder that some things are meant to stay hidden. Or maybe it's just a story that got out of control, spreading from one person to the next, growing darker and more twisted with every retelling. But every so often I'll hear from someone who claims they've found a copy, an old tape, a corrupted file, a link that only works once before disappearing forever. They always say the same thing. The episode is worse than they imagined. The colors are wrong, the sounds are distorted, and Blossom's eyes haunt their dreams for weeks afterward. Some say they can't watch the Powerpuff Girls anymore, that the theme song makes them uneasy. Others say they hear a faint hum of static when they turn off the TV at night. I try not to think about it too much. I keep my lights on, my curtains closed, and my TV unplugged when I'm not using it. I avoid lost media forums, and I don't go looking for stories about cursed episodes. But the legend of Project Blossom is always there, waiting in the background, a shadow at the edge of my vision. If you're reading this, maybe you're curious too. Maybe you think it's just a story, something to laugh about with your friends. But if you ever find yourself alone at night, with the sound of static in your ears and the feeling that someone is watching you from the dark, remember what I've told you. Some episodes are better left lost. Some stories are better left untold. And if you ever see Blossom standing alone in a ruined lab, her eyes glowing with something you can't quite name, turn off the TV, walk away, don't look back. Because in Project Blossom, the real nightmare isn't what you see on the screen. It's what follows you when the episode ends. I wish I could say there's a way to break the spell, to shake off the feeling that Project Blossom leaves behind. But the truth is, once you know the story, it's hard to forget. It lingers in the quiet moments, in the flicker of a screen, in the uneasy silence that settles just before you fall asleep. I've learned to live with it, to keep my distance from old cartoons and lost media. But the memory is always there, waiting. Sometimes I'll catch myself glancing at the TV, half expecting to see Blossom's eyes staring back at me from the static. Other times, I'll hear a faint hum, like the one that filled the background of that episode, and I'll freeze, heart pounding, until I convince myself it's just the refrigerator or the pipes in the wall. But deep down, I know better. I know that some stories have a way of reaching out, of finding you no matter how far you run. I've talked to others who feel the same. Some have tried to track down the episode, convinced that if they can just see it for themselves, the mystery will finally make sense. But every time the trail goes cold, the files are corrupted, the tapes are blank, the links disappear as soon as you click them. It's as if the episode doesn't want to be found, or maybe as if it's waiting for the right person to find it. So if you ever hear about Project Blossom, or if you find yourself drawn to stories about lost episodes and hidden secrets, remember this: curiosity can be dangerous. Some things are better left alone, no matter how tempting they seem. And if you ever see a flash of red hair and glowing eyes in the corner of your screen, don't look too closely. Don't listen to the hum. Don't try to remember the details, because some episodes aren't just stories. Some episodes are warnings, and some nightmares, once they find you, never really let you go. So turn off the TV, close your laptop, and let the story fade. Trust me, there are some secrets you don't want to uncover. And Project Blossom is one of them.